Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of Tech Writing. Today we're going to talk about Unit 2 and the second assignment you have this summer, which would be a technical instruction set. And before we begin, I just want to comment that we have a really good textbook chapter on instruction sets for our readings today and several good instruction set student examples throughout these 2 weeks. Instruction sets are one of the most common technical documents that technical writers create. You probably use them in your other classes to do labs. Most textbooks include them, and often they are really bad. So in this unit, we're going to try to fix that so you don't put out bad instruction sets in the future. So the first thing you need to ask yourselves for this unit is what the topic of your instruction set is going to be. This is up to you, but I do have a couple criteria you need to follow to make sure your assignment turns out well. First, you need to make sure that you are choosing an actual technical topic. So that means you need to choose a topic in which you are using some kind of tool or technology to complete a technical task. Good topics in the past have included how to build a model rocket, how to test a rocket engine, how to screen print, how to take a soil sample, how to do an oil change, and how to model a cube in AutoCAD. Bad topics are ones like how to bake a cake or how to read a book. These topics simply aren't technical enough. Next, you want to make sure your topic is accessible. By accessible, I mean that you have access to all the equipment you need to do this task, because you are going to have to photograph each stage and do it yourself. If you do decide to model something in CAD, for example, you must consider whether you even have access to CAD. If you decide to build a rocket model, do you have the materials required? This brings us to our next point. This needs to be something that is photographable. Good instruction sets rely on images for every single stage, so you'll need to make sure you can get good images. Even for computer programs, you'll need to take good screen captures. Finally, you want to make sure your topic is of the right length for this assignment. In each class I've taught, there have been 1 or 2 students not really think about this aspect before they start, and they ended up choosing a topic that was roughly 20 pages long. You want your instruction set to be completable in 6 to 10 pages. Now then, this may sound long, but it really isn't when you consider how many images you're going to include and how much white space instruction sets involve. So before we look at instruction sets proper, I want to go over a few key points about technical documents and technical writing more generally. First, as we've already discussed, users are vital to the work of a tech writer. One of the key differences between technical documents and other writing you might do is that technical documents have users. That is, in technical documents from lab reports to instruction sets, your reader is usually going to use your document to do something. In this instruction set, you will have to create a user persona. Why is it important to know who your user is when you create an instruction set? Well, how might a set of instructions differ if you're talking about changing a tire and your user is your dad, let's say, versus your 12-year-old sister? Your instruction set would definitely look different for those 2 users, correct? So you want to think about the best way to get information across to a certain age group, learning style, scenario of use, emotional context, etc. Changing a tire sounds like a simple goal with a simple instruction set, but depending on the user and the situation, a tire change manual might have different goals attached to it. For instance, I might want to know if I need to change my tire at all. How do I know that? What does a bald tire look like? I might want to know where to buy a new tire and advice on what to spend money on. I might be on the side of the road and need tips on spare tires. Or I might want to know just one part of changing a tire and need to skip to step 5. So for instruction sets, you want to think about multiple goals and set up a nice scannable document that allows for dual stream reading. Next, we need to consider stakeholders. Generally, technical documents do have stakeholders. That is, someone who is paying you to write this document. So, for instance, if a company is paying me to write the document, I might have to advertise for the company a little bit in the document. saying the types of tires that Goodyear sells and which type I recommend as a spare tire and which type is best for which type of car, etc. And I might even have to say the best tire is their more expensive tire. All right, next we need to think about KPIs, or key performance indicators. Technical documents usually have KPIs. This is how I know that my document has been successful. In instruction sets, that usually is that the user can easily make it through the document, but it also might be a certain page length, a number of units sold after I complete the instruction set, etc. We also have SMEs, or subject matter experts. In real technical writing, and you are required to do this unit, technical writers interview subject matter experts who are really good at the thing they are writing about. So to create a tire change manual, I might do a bunch of internet research, but I would also want to make sure I interviewed several types of mechanics, from small shops to dealerships to tire change places. In this assignment, you're going to have to ask a subject matter expert that knows something about the process you are writing about to review your instructions. This could be your friend, family member, coworker, teacher, fellow student, really anyone who knows a lot about your topic. Finally, we have textual text. Most technical documents and writing involves test. I'm not making you test your document with an actual user, but ideally, if I were really writing this document for a company, I would run a usability test with multiple types of users, asking a mechanic, a teenager, a mom, and an elderly man, all to attempt to follow my instructions. But we will come back to usability test in Unit 4. Now then, the traditional instruction set features 5 main parts. Naturally, you have the introduction and the background. So the intro is a short paragraph in which you will tell the reader, what will these instructions help me do? Is there anything I need to know to be able to use these instructions effectively? The introduction includes the subject, the purpose of the procedure, the intended readers, the scope, organization, conventions, motivation, and safety. Also, how long the process will take, how difficult or easy it is, an overview of the steps needed to complete the task, definitions of terms or concepts, cautions or warnings, a sense of how long the task should take to complete, where readers should perform the task, and finally, you'll tell readers what they should already know before they complete the instruction set. All right, next, you may think a list of materials is the simplest part of the instruction set, and it is, but the best list of materials are really specific. They give images of most of the parts, as well as tips and tricks. For instance, what are the best brands? How much do things cost? Where should I buy them? Do I need any special tools? Are there things I should watch out for as I gather materials? Are there any dangerous tools? What's the organizational method for parts? A big thing you want to make sure of is that all, and I do mean all, materials are listed in this section. If you introduce a new material or required equipment in the middle of the instruction set, your readers will get mad. So if you are writing about an oil change and you say put newspapers down now and didn't list newspapers in the materials, you'll get points taken off. Next, we have the list of steps and sub-steps. So once I'm ready to start, what exactly do I do? These should be written for scanning, rapid comprehension. They should include action-oriented headings, branching steps that are clearly represented, notes on what might go wrong on specific steps or generally. Should also be a numbered list. And you want to use the imperative voice here, which basically means this should be a list of commands. This section should be heavily image-driven. We'll go over what makes for a good and bad image later, but for now, let me tell you that you want to have pictures of every major step. You want to make sure you capture the actual action being done. Ideally, you should have your hands doing the action or someone else doing it in the photograph. You want to make sure your images are both captioned and labeled. So have a description of what is in the image below the image and label things on the image itself. You also want to make sure your images are big enough that I can see what's going on. That's probably the most common error in images. They're too small and readers can't tell what's being talked about. You also want to provide feedback that informs the reader what will happen after they complete each step. What should the result of each step look like, smell like, taste like? How long should something take to react? How long should I wait for the oil to drain? How do I visually know I've done something wrong? Feedback is good because it calms people. Should this smell like burning rubber? Yes. And warns people. It's very easy to start a fire during this stage, so if you start to smell smoke, unplug your equipment and leave the room until the smoke clears. Include warnings or cautions before readers will encounter problems. Most steps should include warnings and tips. Also, really focus on color here. You might go with red headings for warnings and maybe green headings for tips. One of the big things that separates good instruction sets from bad ones is that good instruction sets aren't just a list, but rather they actually teach the reader. So get rid of long list of steps and move them into sections with appropriate subheadings. Part 1 being gathering your materials, Part 2 preparing your weld, Part 3 cleaning your weld, Part 4, etc., etc. It's always good to separate your instruction sets into sections. So next we have troubleshooting. In your troubleshooting section, you should provide common questions and errors. Of course, you want to troubleshoot throughout the document, but in this section, you provide the reader with something extra. Something isn't working correctly, so how do I fix that? Where do I go to find more information? A really good way to do troubleshooting that I've seen in the past is a simple Q&A. Be careful here because students tend to get lazy on these last two sections. You'll be graded for them, so make sure you try your best. And finally, you want a glossary of key terms. This should be provided so that your readers have all of the technical definitions you're using, but also links to other key information that you don't have time to explain here. Okay, and here we have some additional information that will help you get started on your instruction sets. Uh-oh.